Hey everybody, Jepp here, and welcome to Jeppy Mailbox. This is a series where you guys send me your Valorant or gaming related questions and theories, and I'll try to answer them. If you want to leave a question or a theory, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, and keep a lookout for the next video to see if I answer it. The first question for today's video comes from Billion James, and he says, Neon commits war crime by fake surrendering. Also, Neon, are we still the good guys? Alright, so I've actually heard a bunch of people talking about this lately. Ever since the Shattered cinematic came out, people were questioning or making jokes about how Neon threw down her weapon and came out with her hands up. She surrendered, and Atlas soldiers let their guard down to apprehend her. Then Neon just goes on this wild spree, killing all of them. Now, we don't know if the Geneva Convention is a thing in the Valorant universe, but if it is, then going back into combat after surrendering is a huge violation. The reason is because if you surrender, you are basically forfeiting and showing yourself that you are no longer a threat, so that your enemies spare your life and ideally house you as a prisoner of war. Again, ideally with good conditions. But let's be real, guys. I don't think the Geneva Convention is a thing in Valorant. Viper. I mean, you can go on and on about other agents that use weapons or their powers in very barbaric ways of combat. Viper's whole design is to use poison and make her enemies suffer. Phoenix literally burns people alive. Hell, Reyna may even be the worst of them all. We clearly see that Reyna steals the souls of the enemies she kills and consumes them. That would likely steal any hope of their soul reaching whichever god, the enemy believes in. Sounds pretty evil to me to rob someone of their hope of meeting their god by consuming their soul. I can go on, but for everyone to like jump on Neon and call her out for this one thing that she did, you would have to call out like half the Valorant Protocol for the ways that they do combat and the actions that they've done. Moving on to the next comment from Nightmare, and they say, okay, so I have a very obvious theory. Cypher's ultimate is called neural theft. So does that actually mean that Cypher throws his hat at the enemy corpse? It hacks into the nervous system of the enemy to get the location of the other alive enemies. Surely that fallen enemy knew where his teammates were, so that makes much sense. And if that's the case, I can imagine the power Cypher's hat possesses in the lore, despite Cypher being so weak in the game. What an interesting idea, and that's something I've really never thought about before. How exactly does Cypher's hat work? Does it leach into what little brain activity is left in a fallen enemy right after they die and decipher their last memories before they perished? How else would it get that information? And if that's the case, then I'm sure if Cypher programs his hat to display, whatever results he wants, he can probably get so much more information than just locations of people the fallen enemy knew. What other things are people thinking about right before they die? Well, whatever it is, I think Cypher would be able to find out. I wonder if we'll see him use this method in a future cinematic. Okay, next question comes from Snaz, and they say, I'd like a level queue system on Valorant. Like, I'm playing unrated and I'm level 16 and I get matched up with level 100 plus. Okay, so here's the reason why I don't think like a level cap or like a level queue system would work even in unrated. The reason is because level does not translate to skill. I have seen tons of people even above level 100 that are still in iron and have never really ranked up from there. Now that's okay if you're one of those players. I'm not like trying to make fun of you or anything. Keep on grinding, you'll get it. But what I'm saying is that it's all about players' skill. Recently, I've really been trying to play with subscribers over on my Discord channel. If you ever want to play with me, just hit the link in the description for the invite link to the server. It's awesome there. But sometimes I queue with fans that are iron. Now, me being a gold and plat player in these like iron lobbies, I kind of dominate in them. And frankly, sometimes if I'm being honest, a lot of the enemies like, even though they're iron, their levels are like way above mine. And frankly, a lot of these times when I'm going up like these like iron or bronze players, a lot of the times their account levels are like even way higher than mine. So level doesn't actually equal rank. And even in unrated, Riot does a good job on trying to match players relatively around the same skill to have a more fun and balanced match. Our next theory comes from Aaron Bergilia. I don't know how to say it. I'm so sorry. And they say, I would like to add my own theory on Yoru's time traveling accident. What if Yoru is actually his own ancestor? I know this may sound dumb, but what if he fell into that void at one point and was never able to return? So he lived the life he could in that past with his mask already filled with radiant and passed it on to that ship so that his younger self in the present day could find it. Whoa. Okay, now that actually sounds really cool. Now we have absolutely no evidence to like, back this theory up on it, but it definitely sounds very interesting. How cool would it be if like that was true? But here are a few issues with that I'm just thinking of the top of my head. Remember how Yoru fell into that fragile pocket of reality by the ship on Icebox? He said he heard a woman's voice that he recognized.
And then I fell into a space that wasn't just A to B. It felt more like now to then. I pushed forward as far as I could. And Brimstone. I heard someone calling to me. I didn't have time to answer before the rift closed. But I swear to you, I knew her voice.
Now, I don't know if Yori was like a girl in the last like quote unquote version of himself, but that really wouldn't add up. Also, would that create like a never ending loop where once Yori discovers the secrets of why his mask has radiant in it and the mystery with his ancestors, where would it start? Like all over again? These are just questions I'm bringing up to play devil's advocate, but I love complex, interesting theories like this. And after all, we really don't know why Yori's mask has radiant in it. Like this mask is like really old and did come from his ancestors like you did say. So until Riot gives us an update to that story and kind of gives us the ultimate answers on where the Radiant came from in his mask, I guess this theory is as good as any. Up next is another great theory by David Arthur, and they say, Ruben Pontes clearly wants what is best for everyone. Nothing we have seen so far makes me think he is evil. He decided to help Chamber. Either Chamber is very manipulative or something he said convinced Ruben that the fracture facility is bad for some reason. Chamber seems so evil, but maybe somehow he is working for good in the background. Okay, so I really wanted to include this one because it could be a pretty good counter argument to the typical like Chamber is super evil because he destroyed the Everlyn research facility on Fracture. We know that likely someone hired Chamber to do the job, but we don't know who and we don't know for what reason. Of course, as we know, he was able to convince Ruben Pontes into giving him security clearance to get close enough to the large radiant collider to, well, destroy it. What if the person who hired Chamber predicted devastating consequences if the large radiant collider became fully operational? Perhaps it is actually a good thing that the events on Fracture happened the way that it did. But I'll leave it all up to you guys. Do you think there was good behind that decision, or do you think it was for self-gain and had evil intentions? Let me know what you think. While you figure that out, let's move on to the very last question for today's video, and it comes from yeah, sorry bro, I can't say your name. Well, regardless, this is the comment. Doubt theory. I'm sure Omega Viper died in the retake cinematic because we literally see Phoenix kill her with a shorty, but in the new cinematic Shattered, she is still alive. So IG, the agents who are attacking our Earth, are just clones of the agents in Omega. I'm not sure about it though. Okay, so I've actually seen this question come up a lot too since the Shattered cinematic has released. Everyone is confused why Viper is still alive when Phoenix presumably killed her in the retake cinematic. Well, as for the whole clone scenario you said in your theory, I'm not so sure about that. What's more likely to me is that the Omega Sage went to the Icebox facility and rezzed not only Viper, but the Omega Jet as well. Remember, she died from Yoru too. This is like the only really likely scenario in my eyes. Either Sage brought, Viper and, Jet back from the dead, or there's issues with Riot's, continuity in the storytelling. My money is Sage just res them though. Remember everyone, if you want to submit your own question or theory, please do so by leaving a comment down below. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. And if you enjoyed the video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to notifications if you're new. Now with all that being said, Jeppy out.